Hi everyone, welcome to DSDV class 17663. We will continue our module 5 design methodology. This is lecture number 3A, and this is about design for test. This is lecture number 3, design for test. In short, it's called as a DFT. This is a sub part of lecture 3, so we will call it as a lecture number 3A. And in this lecture, we will see the introduction to DFT and one of the method of DFT, fault models and fault simulation. Okay, we have seen the design flow and we have seen the different design optimization requirements. Okay, in that we saw we started from requirements until we went to the manufacture and testing phase. Okay, the design flow what we have described, it starts with the requirements, architectural exploration, and proceeds to step by step, one by one, till it goes and reach to the manufacturing stage. Okay, that manufacturing stage is nothing but IC manufacturing. That may be a ASIC or it may be a FPGA. Okay, once the chips have been manufactured, the IC chips have been manufactured, they must be tested. We saw in our module 3 that when we are going through the IC manufacturing process, after the manufacturing, the ICs from the wafer are not sliced, they are not separated immediately. Instead, the ICs will be tested on the wafer itself. Okay, the ICs will be tested on the wafer itself, and they will be checking whether that the manufactured IC is defective or it is working fine, and they will separate the defective ICs and working ICs. Okay, and after that they will they will group all the working ICs, and then they will send it for the packaging, and they will discard the defective ICs. Okay, there are several reasons why the manufactured chips might not work, because the problem may arises during wafer manufacture or during packagings. Okay, some problems may cause whole batches of chip to fail, entire chip manufactured chips to fail, or whereas others produce isolated failures, means some of them may fail, some of them are working. Okay, so the uh, why we need to uh, test this ICs defective or working fine, because instead of directly selling to the customer, we should make sure the IC is working fine. Okay, the aim of testing of after manufacturing is to identify the defective chips so that they can be discarded rather than supplied to customers. Okay, ideally the cause and location of faults can be recorded so that the manufacturing process can be adjusted to enhance it. This is the main reason. Okay, so we can record, by testing the ICs on a wafer, we can record why the IC has been failed, for what reason the IC went defective. Okay, um, we can um, save this recording and save the reason so that we can avoid in the next IC manufacturing process. And yield, the yield is nothing but on a silicon wafer we will be manufacturing a n number of ICs. In those n number of ICs, few may be working and few may not be working. Yield is nothing but amount of ICs which are working fine over the total ICs manufactured. Okay, and the development of ICs, ASICs and FPGA are both different process. Okay, so the testing will also be somewhat different. In case of ASIC testing, developing tests for the chips is part of the design process. Okay, in case of the FPGA, the test development is part of the process of developing the FPGA as an implementation fabric. The FPGA used as an implementation target of a final design is already tested as part of its manufacture. It is, and this sentence is saying that for ASIC design we need to test carefully at each and every stage. And in FPGA, whatever the chip, the FPGA will be tested already, because it is while manufacturing itself will be tested. Okay. However, the FPGA must still be inserted into a PCB as part of a larger system, which itself must be tested as a part of its manufacture. In many systems, faulty PCBs are not discarded. Instead, defective chips on the PCBs are replaced and the repaired PCB retested and returned to the service. This slide is conveying that the whatever the design may be, it may be ASIC or it may be FPGA, that should be tested before selling to the customer. Okay, the testing of FPGA will be done at its final stage. Okay, as a part of its manufacturing. Okay, it's not tested after the manufacture, it is tested at the manufacturing stage only. Okay, and the the PCB also, it needs to be tested. Okay, if the PCB found fault, it will not be discarded. Instead of that, whatever the ICs which are placed on the PCB, that ICs will be replaced, the defective ICs will be replaced, and it replaced with the working ICs. And if you take some examples like as a simple circuit, the testing could involve applying test cases on the chip inputs and verifying that the chip produces the correct outputs. This is similar to the our simulation. What you do in the what you do when you write an Verilog program, and when you go for simulation stage, what you will do, you will just give the input combinations values to the inputs, and you will check the outputs through the waveforms. That is what this line is conveying. This is similar in concept to verification during the design stage. However, rather than verifying the design which meets the functional requirements or not, which fits the functional requirement or not, the intention is that to verify the manufactured chips performs the expected functionality or not. Okay, if the number of, this is for simple circuit, for simple circuit we will be giving input combinations and will be verifying output combinations. For a simple circuit, for a two input, for a three input, for a four input, the input combinations may, for two input, the four input combinations may be there 0 0 0 1 1 0 1 1. For three inputs, 0 0 2 1 1 1 1. Similarly for four units, 0 0 0 2 1 1 1 1. Okay, and four combinations, 8 combinations, and 16 combinations we can do. But what about for from 10 inputs? What about 30 inputs and n inputs? Then we can, then the number of input combinations will increase, and the time also increase, the simulation time also increase, and checking of each combination output will also time consuming. It takes more time, it takes days together, months together. Okay, and what if the, if any input combination is giving wrong, is giving the wrong value, what? And then we need to come and redesign, we need to check which stage, on which stage we are getting the problem. Okay, this is somewhat time consuming. Okay, so we need to go for some better efficient testing methods. As the number of possible input values and input sequences increases, testing that chip operates correctly in all cases becomes infeasible. The time available for testing is much less than for design verification. This is what we are saying. As the number of combination increase, the time to test will also increase. Okay, we'll see why the reason, since the thousands or millions of chips must be tested individually. See, this is the reason why the time of testing should be less, because the, if, to test one IC, if it takes days together, months together time, what about the rest of the ICs? Okay, if you have manufactured 100 ICs, what, then what the amount of time it will take? It will take years together. So we need to have some alternative testing way of the ICs. The testing require the testing requires some test equipment physically, means some physical device should be there to test the manufactured ICs and to validate its outputs. So such equipment means that such physical require for the physical device to test another IC it will be costlier. Okay, so the cost is one of our main requirement that also should be reduced. Okay, so in order to reduce the time of testing and cost, we could go for some approach. What approach we can see? We can go for approach that we can include some additional circuitry to the IC in the IC circuit itself. Okay, we can include some additional circuitry in the circuit itself, so that it performs the testing operation. Okay, we can reduce the time and cost involved in testing a system by including additional circuitry to improve the system's testability. Okay, by including additional circuitry within the IC system, so we can reduce the time of testing and we can also save the amount. Okay, such additional circuitry includes elements that make internal nodes observable and internal nodes controllable. What is meant by nodes? We'll see what is observable and what is controllable. We'll see at the in this lecture. Okay, by additional circuitry, it performs testing automatically as a special mode of system operation. See, instead of we giving combinations, that additional circuitry included, whatever circuit we are included for testing purpose, that will generate the automatic testing cases, means it will generate the automatic sequences, input sequences, and it gives the result. How it gives the result is correct or not, we'll see. Okay, we need to use some design techniques that seek to improve testability. Okay, instead of having some extra physical hardware device to test the ICs, we can add some additional circuitry. Okay, what type of method we can go? One method is design for test. It is called DFT. DFT stands for design for test. Okay, design for test, it refers to a design techniques that seek to improve the testability, testing of the manufactured IC. In the remainder of this section we will see that how to develop the test cases, means how to develop the input combinations to detect the faults in an IC. Okay, we have to detect the faults in an IC. What are the ways we will be checking? Okay, we will be checking, we'll be learning about fault models and fault simulation. Then we'll be learning about scan design and boundary scan, and finally we'll be learning about one of the um, good method, built-in self-test. Okay, these are the three methods we are of DFT we'll be learning in this module 5. Okay, and in this lecture we'll be concentrating only on fault models and fault simulation. What is fault model and what is fault simulation, we'll see. Before that, we'll try to generalize the idea why how the testing will be happening. Okay, as a part of the design flow, we need to develop test vectors, means we need to give uh, inputs to the design. Okay, so based on that input combinations we will be getting some certain output. Okay, we need to verify that certain output. Okay, we'll be giving a set of test vectors. It's also called as test patterns. In general, the meaning of these two keywords is nothing but an input combination. It may be 000 or 001, anything. Okay, that is combinations of input values for the circuit that can be used to expose faults. What is meant by test vectors and test patterns? Nothing but the combination of input values. Okay, the idea is that application of each test vector, okay, should cause the circuit to produce a given output, should give the expected output. Okay, the circuit may be simple, or it may be a complex. Okay, or okay, we should give the test vectors. Okay, if the circuit produces a different output, the circuit is faulty. Okay, when you are performing an operation, if you found an wrong output, what we say, we are getting wrong output, means something problem in the design description itself. Okay, this is one of the method we should be learning in fault models and fault simulation. This method will identify the fault output, this the wrong output, and says the circuit is fault. Okay, a good choice of vectors may also be able to locate the fault within the circuit. Also, it will identify for which test vector we are getting the fault output. Okay, in order to work out how to identify those faults. Okay, we need to consider the kinds of faults, the kinds of faults that can occur in a circuit. The kinds of fault means what kind of fault may occur. What kind of we know that our digital circuit works in logic 0 and logic 1 values. Okay, we can by knowing with the aware of this, we can say we can either get the logic 0 wrong value or logic 1 wrong value. How the logic 0 and logic 1 can be wrong? Because some circuits, in the circuits, some transistors or some gates will be always tied to logic 1, or will be tied to ground. Okay, if you take an example of an AND gate, for two input AND gate, if one of the input of the AND gate is tied to logic 1, means power supply, means it will be always tied to 1. Okay, then we can then the output of the AND gate depends on the other input. Okay, this is one scenario. If you take another example of it, the same two input AND gate, when one of the AND gate input is connected to ground, means it's constantly taking input as logic 0. Then whatever the input of the other whatever the value of the other input of the AND gate, the output will be always 0. Okay, but this is the conditions. One of the input is connected to power supply, or in another example, other input connected to ground. Okay, but in a scenario where if you take another example of Another example 3, if the same AND gate where it is supposed to get different combination of values 0 0 0 1 1 1 1 0, by mistake if any one of the AND gates input is connected to either power supply or ground, or which is affecting by the neighboring signal and getting constant logic 0 value or logic 1 value, then the output will be affected. Okay, then the signal which is supposed to get different combination, when the input where the input is of the AND gate is supposed to get different combinations, but due to some wrong description or due to some neighboring cell affecting signal integrity, it is getting some constant value. Okay, that constant value it is not the input value, it is not a desired input value, it is some unexpected input value, then will be getting some wrong output. So the our input will be stuck at either a 1 or stuck at a 0. Okay, we will take few circuits and we'll take what are those. Okay, these okay, we need to consider the kinds of faults. Okay, we need to consider kinds of faults that can occur in a circuit. Okay, there are fault models and fault simulators to detect the faults. Okay, first in order to know whether the output is correct or not, we need to have some fault detection method. For that we'll be using fault models and fault simulators. Fault models are nothing but are abstractions of the effects produced by the faults. Okay, abstractions of the effects produced by the faults. It means whatever the wrong output is giving, that will be recorded. Okay, that recorded value is given by the fault models. And fault simulators are nothing but which simulates the circuit operation and give with a given fault injected. Okay, we'll see what is fault simulator is. Fault simulator means which simulates the operation of the circuit with a given fault injected at a given location. Location means it may be any input values. Sorry, it may be any input variables, not values, input variables. The simulator applies the test vectors until an incorrect output results indicating the fault has been detected. This in fault simulator method, the this this will apply, this simulator will gives the set of input combination values till it detects a wrong value at the output. If no incorrect output is produced for all the test vectors, the fault remains undetected by that set of vectors. If there is no errors found for all the combinations, okay, then there is no errors in the circuit. Okay, the simulator repeats the simulation for other faults and other locations in the circuit. Okay, this is an iterative process. It will check the next circuit. Okay, once all of the faults have been simulated, the fault coverage of the test vectors, that is the proportion of faults detected, can be determined. Okay, ideally the fault coverage should be 100%, but for a large design this may not be feasible. Why the word fault coverage came? Why? What we are studying here, we are identifying, we are detecting the faults, okay, in the circuit. And also we say we are going with this approach because instead of having some hardware circuit to test, we are trying to save the cost and try to save the time. So we are adding additional circuitry. In that additional circuit, one method is fault models and fault simulator. In that fault simulator, it will do, it will identify the the paths which are giving wrong values. Okay, it will gives that the simulator gives the test vectors to the circuit and it will identify fault values. Okay, which value, which combination of input is giving wrong value. It will not only stop there, it will record that combination value and record the value and at what input location, what variables are there used, for what variables, for what combination the output is getting, that will be recorded. This will be done for each of the circuits in entire system. Once the entire system simulation has been done through the fault simulator by identifying the different faults, all the faults will be recorded. That is called fault coverage. Okay, this is for simple circuit or medium circuit, but for larger design it will take some time. Okay, for that we need to be make sure for which design we need to apply this one. Okay, in choosing the test vectors, we said that we are that there will be automatic test vectors will be given to the simulator. How to give that? There should be some automatic test pattern generator. Okay, so we need to use an automatic test pattern generator to get the automated test vectors, test values. So that is called ATPG. ATPG is an EDA tool that analyzes the circuit, and it seeks to create a minimal set of test vectors with as close to full coverage as possible. Okay, it will generate the test vectors, means input values, input combinations of values. This ATPG. Okay, that is how to get the automatic test vectors through the ATPG. Okay, then we saw that any input combination will either may be tied to VDD or ground, that is according to the functionality. But by mistake, if that value gets stuck at 1 or stuck at 0, what we are supposed to do, what is that means, we'll see. Okay, a simple and commonly used fault model is the stuck-at model. Stuck-at model means the any input value or output value or any internal node, which is supposed to be so giving some correct output, but somehow due to some wrong description or some signal integrity effects or other effects, it is stuck at only one value, that only one value for all the time. Okay, that the input node or the internal node supposed to change values, but it is stuck at some value for all the time period. It may be stuck at 1 or stuck at 0. Okay, stuck-at model is used to know whether the value on that line is always the same value, is the correct value or wrong value. Stuck-at model, in which an input or output of a gate in a circuit can be stuck at logic 0 value or stuck at logic 1 value. Okay, rather than being able to change between 0 and 1, it means it's saying that the value. Okay, if you take an example, same example of AND gate, two input AND gate, the combinations of the two inputs should be 0 0 0 1 1 0 1 1. But if one of the input of the AND gate is stuck at some one value always, okay, instead of changing, okay, that to identify that, we'll be using this fault model. Okay, the cause of such fault model might be caused by a short circuit to the ground or power supply. Okay, this may be one of the reason. Okay, if in a short circuit occurs for a system, then that input, which is supposed to change its value, because of short circuit, it may kind of permanently get connected to, it may permanently go to logic I or logic 0. Okay, we'll take an example. We'll take the figure in 10.10, it's showing a OR gate and AND gate is nothing but A ANDed with B or C. Okay, in that the output of the OR gate is stuck at 1, means somehow the output of the OR gate remains 1 for all the time of the simulation. Okay, if OR gate output is 1 whenever any one of the input is 1, but here the OR gate output is stuck at 1 for all the combinations of the two inputs of a two input OR gate. Okay, so this goes undetected. Okay, but this fault model will detect this. Okay, how it checks, we'll see. Okay, this figure is showing an model of uh, an and OR gate, OR AND gate. Okay, OR AND gate, where Z is equal to A ANDed with BRC. The output of the OR gate is stuck at 1 forever. Okay, you can see which one, this one, the encircled one. This is the output of the OR gate. This is stuck at 1 for all the time. This stuck at this value, which is stuck at 1 of the OR gate output, is also affecting the final circuit, that is AND gate. Okay, the AND gate, one of the input of the AND gate is stuck at is constantly 1 for all the time. For some input combinations, we will consider some input combinations like B equals 0 and C equals 0. Okay, for OR gate, when B equals 0 and C equals 0, what will be the output? Output is 0. But in this case, the output is 1. The output is 1, so the tool will identify, instead of getting the correct value, the output is giving wrong value. Okay, and another case, when B equals C or C, when B equals 1 or C equals 1, means any one of the input is 1, the output will be 1. This is a natural behavior of the OR gate. But for 0 0 combination, it was supposed to give 0, but it is giving 1. This is the fault, this is the wrong output. This will be identified as fault model. Okay, yeah. This will identify the fault model. And how it affects the AND gate? The AND gate is affected in such a way that when A is equal to 0, the output of the AND gate is supposed to 0, right? But when A equals 1, the value when A equals 1, the the AND gate um, other input is always stuck at 1. Okay, then the result will be 1. But but what what is the combination of 1 0 for AND gate? What is the combination of 1 0 for AND gate? For 0 0, for 0 1 1 1, it is okay, it will give the correct output. For what is the state when A equals 1 and 0? For that combination there is no proper output. That combinations will not occur. That combination, there is no occurrence of that combination 1 0 for AND gate, because other input of AND gate is always stuck at 1. So this is also will be identified by fault models. Okay, in this we will try to know what are nodes. Okay, the whatever seeing the A B C Z, these are all called nodes. Okay, and also the connection between OR gate output and AND gate input, this is also called as a node. If you if you name that variable of the output of OR gate, it will act as a one of the node. These are nodes. Okay, please bear in mind. We will try to analyze in a tabular way. Okay, we'll take a truth table of the circuit. Okay, you can see whenever the A input is 0, whenever the A input is 0, your Z is 0. Okay, because if any one of the input of AND gate is 0, output is 0. And you can see when when the A input is 1, when A input is 1, it depends on the other inputs. It depends on the other inputs. Here other inputs are 0, so output is 0. For 1 0 0, output is 0. And also when A input is 1, it depends on the other inputs. Here the other input is nothing but the combination, the output of the OR gate. See, for 0 1, output is 1, so 1 1, output is 1. For 1 0, for 1 0, output is 1, Z will be 1. For 1 1, out 1 1, this is 1 1 1, output will be 1. You can see for 1 0 1 1 1 0 1 1 1, output is 1. Okay, this is the circuit. This is the scenario where there is no stuck-out fault. Okay, here we are omitting this one. We are omitting this one. We are just considering the normal circuit operation of the OR gate. Okay, next we will consider the stuck-out one. Here the stuck-out one is not considered. No stuck-out fault is considered. Okay, we will take this this stuck-out fault condition. Okay, this is not a normal circuit. The output is stuck at, the output of the OR gate is stuck at 1. Okay, we will consider stuck-out fault. Okay, stuck-out 1. Okay, here the output of the OR gate is stuck for 1 always, for all the time. See, the in A is there, B is there, C is there. Expected output without stuck-out fault, and the output we are getting for stuck-out fault. Okay, for stuck-out fault. Okay, and the recording of the output. You can see whenever the A input is 0, okay, whatever the values of the B or C, okay, we'll be getting 0. Okay, because when any one of the AND gate is 0, this other input value will not be considered, output will be directly 0. But when A equals 1, then the AND gate will consider other input also. See, when A equals 1, B, for combination of B equals C equals 0, okay, the output should be 0. But what is happening? The output of the AND gate is always 1. So this combination is 1 1. So we are getting wrong output. Okay, which is not supposed to get. So that to the fault model will identify we are getting wrong output and it record fault is found. Okay, and similarly you can see for other combinations we will get the correct output. Only for the 0 0 combination the output should be 0, but because of stuck at 1 we are getting one wrong output. This is how the fault model identifies the wrong value and records fault found and gives the exact location, exact combination. Okay, uh, that is about a fault model. Okay, in general the detection, in general the detecting the fault, did you miss anything? No. Yes, we have seen in general detecting the fault involves applying a combination of input values. Okay, how we need to detect the faults? We need to apply the combinations, right? That whatever the combinations value we apply, that sensitizes the path from the fault to the output, and it also drives the stuck node to the opposite of its stuck at value. This is saying the whatever the values we apply, it will record. Okay, and in which path we got wrong value, that is also identified. Okay, it also says instead of getting correct value, this path is giving wrong value. Okay, a node in a circuit is observable and controllable. What does this mean? It is means if a fault at the in observable, if a fault at the node can be made to result in an incorrect output value. Okay, the circuit can be made, the node of a circuit can be made observable, means it means the node can be recorded. Okay, if any wrong value is occurring at the output. Okay, the node is controllable if there are input combinations that cause the node to take on a given value. Okay, observability and controllability of nodes in a circuit determine the testability of the circuit. Okay, the node observability and controllability are very much essential in order to carry out the testing operation. This is about fault model. One of the fault model stuck at 1 and stuck at 0. Okay, and another fault models will occur in the transistor stage. The transistor turning on and turning off, that is also considered, that can also be considered. Okay, the transistor, if what happens if the transistor continuously turned on, what happens if the transistor continuously turned off. We'll see other fault models. The other fault model considers the transistor level circuits, the transistor level circuits for the gates. Okay, this involves transistor being stuck on means transistor turned on for all the time entire the circuit operation, or transistor stuck at off. Transistor stuck off means the transistor remains off for all the circuit operation time. Okay, this fault model detection checking stuck on or stuck off of the transistor allows us to detect faults that are adequately represented by the stuck-at fault model. What happens in stuck-at fault model? In stuck-at 1 and stuck-at 0, we are checking only whether the value, the path is stuck-at logic 1 or stuck-at logic 0. That is with respect to output. But what happens if the transistor is turned on all the time? What happens if the transistor is turned off all the time? Then power consumption will occur, right? If the transistor is turned on all the time, then power will be consumed more and heat will also be produced more. Okay, if it is turned off, there will be some amount of leakage current. Then we need to incorporate some methodologies to avoid leakage currents also. Okay, the figure 1011 is giving two transistors, the PMOS transistors and the NMOS transistors. This is the PMOS transistors. You can see this is the PMOS transistor where the bubble is there. This is called PMOS. This is NMOS. This is the below one is NMOS. The upper one is called the upper transistor and the below one is called the lower transistor. This is also called pull-up transistor. Upper transistor also called pull-up transistor and the lower transistor called pull-on transistor. This is circuit considering output driver of a circuit of a gate, means this is a circuit which is driving other circuit. Okay, in this circuit the problem is the PMOS remain turned on all the time. Okay, the PMOS transistor, the upper transistor, it is turned on all the time. Instead of switching on and switching off, it remains on for all the time. That name, this behavior of the transistor kept turned on all the time, it is called stuck on. Okay, we will see what happens if the transistor is stuck on all the time. Earlier we saw stuck at 0, stuck at 1. Now the transistor, okay, that one, okay, stuck at 1. When the gate should be driving a high logic level, its output is correct. However, when it should be driving a low logic level, both the transistors are turned on. This creates voltage divider and the output logic level is an invalid level between the valued high and low levels. Okay, this the stuck on of the transistor all the time, the stuck on of the transistor all the time is problematic, because we are supposed to get some correct output, but because of the transistor turning on all the time, we are getting mixed values, we are getting a wrong value, we are getting an invalid value at the output. Okay, this is how we are getting the wrong value. By when the transistor turned on, the it will be considered, um, it will be acting as a voltage divider. This voltage divider is giving invalid value to the output. Okay, how this propagates to the rest of the circuits depends on, it means when this is acting as a, what we said, this transistor is acting as a driver circuit for the next gate. When this circuit is producing the wrong output, and what happens, the next circuits which are getting input from this, that circuit will also gives wrong output. Further, the chain of the circuits will also give wrong output. Okay, the input thresholds of the gates connected to the driver and may not be detectable simply by examining the output values. What we were doing in the fault models, we are checking only stuck at 1 and stuck at 0, and by applying, we are applying some combinations of inputs and we are checking the outputs. Okay, we are recording only the output is correct or wrong. If wrong, we are recording it is giving wrong output. This is the condition. But why it is a wrong output? We are checking it is stuck at 1, it is stuck at 0. But what if but other cases scenarios to be taken, right? Whether when there is the when the output is not stuck at 1 or stuck at 0, and then also we are getting output. Why? What may be the condition? That condition is the transistor is kept turned on or the transistor kept turned off. The transistor stuck on all the time or the transistor stuck off all the time. This is another scenario why we are getting wrong values. Okay. um, and testing stuck on, how to test the stuck on. Okay, the testing approach used for such faults is we need to measure the IDDQ, means steady state current drawn from the power supply. Okay, whatever the transistors we are using, whether it is stuck on or stuck off, we need to measure its steady state current, which is drawing from the VDD supply. Okay, to detect the increase when both transistors are on. Okay, by knowing the current value, we can check whether the current value is high or current value is normal or current value is low. By if the normal current value is normal, the transistor is working fine. If it is high, the transistor is stuck on. If the current value is low, it is stuck off. Okay, this is how we can by measuring the steady state current, we can say the transistor is either stuck on or stuck off. Further fault models include bridging faults and delay faults. What is bridging faults and delay faults? Okay, till now we saw fault model, stuck at 0, stuck at 1, fault simulation, and we came fault stuck on and stuck off. Now other fault models like bridging faults and delay faults. Bridging faults is nothing but it represents a it represents short circuit connections between signal wires. Bridging fault, it identifies short circuit happened in the circuits. And delay faults, in this the propagation delay of a circuit is longer than normal and faults in storage elements. Okay, it means the bridging faults is identified short circuits in a circuit, and delay faults will report the propagation delay. Okay, when the propagation delay is nothing but the reaction of the output time. The output should give the value within a respected time, but it is giving more, it is whether it is taking more time or less time, this will be reported by the delay faults. This is about introduction to design for test. In short, it's called DFT. And fault models. In this lecture we saw introduction to design for test. Why we need to go for design for test? The reason is, instead of once the ICs are manufactured, it needs to be tested. It needs to be tested whether they are working fine or they are faulty ICs. Okay, to test that, instead of going to use some physical device, means extra hardware device to test each ICs, we can go for some alternate approach. The problem of using other physical device for testing ICs, that it requires more time. It takes months together. It may take more months together for testing one IC. When we manufacture for 50 ICs or 100 ICs, the time will also increase. Okay, if you want to reduce the time, if we increase the number of testing engineers to test each ICs, then the cost will also increase. And and when we increase number of designers, we need to use more number of testing devices. So the cost of the testing devices increase. In these terms, the time increases, the design engineers increases, the cost increases, either by recruiting more number of design engineers, by using more number of physical hardware testing devices. Okay, so in order to save time and cost, we are going for some approach called design for test. In design for test, we have different methodologies. Okay, fault models and fault simulation, okay, scan method, boundary scan method, and built-in self-test. In this lecture we saw fault models and fault simulation. In fault models we saw for stuck at 1 and stuck at 0, and stuck on, stuck off. Okay, and we saw other fault models. What is the main idea of design for test is, we are going to use some additional circuitry within the system itself, within the IC system, within the system itself. We are going to add some additional circuitry. This circuitry will be getting some automated test vectors, means input combinations, and they will produce the whether the output is correct or wrong. Even by using stuck-cut models, fault models, stuck-cut 1 and stuck-cut 0, we are identifying whether the particular output or input is constantly remaining at 1 or 0. Okay, and this will identify. And also we also consider that why we are getting the wrong value. If even though there is no stuck at 1 and stuck at 0, what may be the condition we are getting wrong value? We are so that we are checking the transistors also, whether the transistor is getting stuck down for all the time or it's getting stuck off for all the time. Okay, so we saw stuck at model, stuck at 1 and stuck at 0, and we saw transistor view also, whether transistor is stuck on or stuck off. And we knew that the node should be observable and controllable. And finally we saw other models, fault models like bridging faults and delay faults, where bridging faults gives information of short circuits within the circuit, and delay faults gives the information of the propagation delay, why we are getting wrong output. And one more thing, in delay faults we are saying a propagation delay, it is recording the output is giving, the propagation delay is more. What happens if the propagation delay is more? We are getting, even though if we get the correct output and it is getting delayed, the output, the amount of the time of getting output is wrong, what will affect? Okay, if the circuit which is giving output very lately, and if that circuit is driving another gate, then the timing mismatch may occur. Okay, if you take an example of a flip-flop, where the flip-flop is clock based, okay, synchronous, the output will obtain at the clock edge. Okay, if if the clock producing circuit is taking more time to give the clock signal, then we are going to get the wrong output at wrong time. I repeat again, what is the significance of delay fault? Identifying the propagation delay, which is taking more time instead of getting normal value. Okay, a circuit which is supposed to produce the output at a normal time, if it's take more time, what happens? If that circuit which is supposed to produce output at correct time and is giving output at more time more lately, then when this circuit acting as a driver circuit in the next stage, that driver circuit will get affected, because the input to that circuit which is driving by this uh, late output producing circuit, then that circuit will also give the wrong output, because of timing mismatch. Okay, this is the conclusion of fault models and fault simulation. Okay, thank you all.